Democrats in Washington are waking up to an abject disaster, and there's no other way to explain this. Forget the White House for a second, if you can. But Republicans are going to net seats in the House of Representatives.
Not only is there no wave, it's like a pond where you drop in a rock and there's no ripples.
Well, that was the media's reaction when they realized that the narrative they had been building and spinning this entire election was bunk. Regardless of the outcome, my next guest says this election will be one for the history books. Consequences to our country for years to come. Joining me now, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House and author of Trump and the American Future. Newt, your overall thoughts of where we sit tonight and why 150 years from now, people are going to be studying this president, his accomplishments, and what they tried to do to him.
Well, I think, Laura, that we're at the beginning of the second presidential campaign of 2020. Just as Andrew Jackson responded to the corrupt bargain of 1824 by tearing apart the establishment and winning the presidency in 1828, just as Abraham Lincoln rejected the threats of the slave-owning Democrats and insisted on preserving the Union in 1860, I think the millions and millions of Americans who went out to rallies, who formed boat parades, in Arizona formed a 96-mile-long parade of Trump supporters. I think as they watch Joe Biden's Democratic Party steal the election in Philadelphia, steal the election in Atlanta, steal the election in Milwaukee, I think the more information that comes out, the greater the rage is going to be. And I think the idea that the corrupt internet companies, Rush Limbaugh today had 4 out of 6 of his tweets censored by the arrogant jerks in Silicon Valley who believe that they can dominate the American people. You go down item after item. I think this was the critical moment. This was the event when they knew they couldn't beat Trump honestly, and therefore I think you're going to see an explosion of rage over the next few weeks, and you're going to see this entire result overturned. And in Atlanta, for example, they have actually kicked out the observers. The Democrats have hidden what they're doing. They're breaking the law in every possible way. And the correct answer is to say, fine, none of those votes count. If you're going to be corrupt and illegal, we don't have to count your votes. And that means automatically in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Georgia, that Trump will carry every single state by a surprising margin.
And Newt, how big a mistake is it for the Democrats to have kind of a burn it all down approach, to destroy the integrity of our election process with this mail-in, day of registration efforts, counting after the election's over, dumping batches of votes a day, 2 days, maybe even 3 days after an election, and making a martyr out of Donald Trump? How powerful is Trump going to be? If they manage to succeed, how powerful is Donald Trump in the next 2 and 4 year periods?
Well, look, President Trump is going to be forced by his own supporters and by the objective reality of the truth, the facts that are beginning to come out. He will be forced into a situation exactly like Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln. He either has to fight and protect America, or he has to surrender to corrupt forces, starting with the Biden family corruption, spreading out to the corruption of the Democratic machines, going on to the corruption of places like the New York Times. I mean, let's be clear. There is an extraordinarily corrupt overload of America trying to impose on the rest of us their view of what we should be allowed to do.
Yeah, people aren't going to take it. Newt, I think you captured it so well. People just aren't going to, they're not going to stand for this, and they're going to make Trump more powerful. And this movement much more powerful.
That's right.
It's a huge mistake.
He will be bigger.
Oh, much
That's
bigger.
Right.
Yeah, much
He's
bigger.
He's going to come back bigger. Much bigger.
Newt, it's great to see you tonight. And still ahead, the real loser this election wasn't it Republicans or Democrats? You guess it was the media. And if Biden wins, the last 24 hours paint a worrisome picture of his ability to govern. Raymond Arroyo explains